Right now, there's roughly $50 trillion of credit stacked on top of only about $3 trillion of actual money, and you live at the top of that stack. But if you added up every real dollar that physically exists, it would not come close to covering what the world owes, which means something is holding this whole thing up that almost nobody can see. By the end of this, you will understand what the economy is actually made of, and what happens the day too many people want their money back at once. Because here's the trap most people fall into, and it quietly shapes every decision you make about your own money. You probably picture the economy as a fixed pile of cash that the government prints, moving from hand to hand, so the total amount of money basically is the economy. It feels obvious, it feels safe, but it is wrong, and that one wrong picture is exactly why busts blindside ordinary people who did nothing wrong. Because the real engine is not money at all. The engine is credit, and credit is just a promise to pay later. Think of the economy as one giant series of transactions, every single one a buyer handing over money or credit to a seller. But the second you allow promises into that exchange, something strange happens that pure cash could never do. Picture two neighbors. You have $10, your neighbor has a shop, and when you spend that $10, you each have what you started with, just rearranged. Therefore, with only real money, the pie never grows, it just slides around the table. But give yourself credit, and now you can walk into that shop and spend money you do not have yet, money that does not exist anywhere. And the moment you spend it, watch what happens. Because your spending instantly becomes your neighbor's income. That is the secret hiding under everything. One person's spending is always another person's income. Therefore, when you borrow and spend, you do not just buy a thing. You hand someone else a paycheck out of thin air. Now your neighbor feels richer, so they spend more, which becomes a third person's income, who borrows and spends again. And here's the value you can use today, the single idea that makes the news suddenly make sense. Most of the number sitting in your bank account is not printed cash, it is the echo of somebody else's unpaid debt. That is why there can be $50 trillion in credit on top of $3 trillion in real money, a tower of promises 16 times taller than the cash beneath it. And that tower is not some faraway Wall Street abstraction. It is standing directly over your life. Because the interest rate on your mortgage, the price on your grocery shelf, the size of your paycheck, all of it is set by how fast that tower of promises is rising or falling. So if credit can conjure income out of nothing, you would think the smart move is to just keep borrowing forever. But that is exactly where the twist lives, because a promise is not a gift. Every dollar of credit you create today is a promise to pull a dollar of spending out of your future self. Therefore, credit does not just grow the economy, it borrows growth forward in time, from tomorrow into today. Which means the economy can never just hum along in a straight line, no matter how badly we want it to. It has to rise, and then it has to come back down, and that up and down has a name. It is called the credit cycle, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. In the up phase, money is cheap, banks are eager, and everyone can borrow. So spending climbs, incomes climb, and asset prices climb right along with them. And because your income is rising, lenders happily give you even more credit, since you look more able to pay it back. Therefore, the boom feeds itself. Prices go up because people borrow, and people borrow more because prices are going up. This is the part everyone loves. It feels like genius. It feels like the good times will simply keep going. But every dollar borrowed in the boom is a dollar of spending stolen from a future that is getting closer every single day. So let me stop you here, because this is the exact moment that decides whether you get run over or not. The warning sign is never a crash out of nowhere. The warning sign is when credit is cheapest, and everyone around you is borrowing the most. Because debt grows, but your income cannot rise forever. And the day those two lines cross, the whole machine throws itself into reverse. People have to spend less to pay down what they owe. But remember the secret, your spending is someone's income, so when you cut back, you are cutting somebody else's paycheck. Therefore, their income falls, so they spend even less, which cuts the next person's income, and the same loop that lifted everyone up now drags everyone down. And here's the darkest part, the part that feels deeply unfair. The bust is not a glitch. It is not one greedy villain's fault. It is baked into the design of a system built on promises. Which means you can do everything right, save carefully, work hard, take no risks at all, and still watch your income fall. because a stranger you will never meet stopped paying a debt. That is not a story. That is 2008 when this exact loop went into reverse and roughly 8.7 million people lost jobs they had done nothing to deserve. The Tower of Promises wobbled. The promises stopped being paid, and the income they were holding up simply vanished. So if the machine is rigged to rise and crash whether you behave or not, it would be easy to feel completely powerless here. But this is the turn, because everything you just learned hands you something most people never get. The economy stops being a scary mystery the moment you stop seeing a money pile and start seeing a credit cycle. A mystery blindsides you, but a pattern you can read. Now you can tell the difference between a top where credit is cheap and everyone is piling on debt, and a bottom where credit is contracting and fear is everywhere. Now, when interest rates move, you understand why. Because rates are simply the price of those promises, the lever that speeds the cycle up or slows it down. And you carry the one rule that keeps you grounded in every phase, that your spending is always someone's income, and someone's spending is always yours. So you can think about your own borrowing and saving in time with the cycle, instead of getting flattened by it, leaning against the crowd rather than running with it off the cliff. This is not advice to buy or sell anything. It is something better. It is the ability to actually see the ground you are standing on. So back to the question we opened with, why every real dollar could never cover what the world owes. Because the economy was never made of money. It is made of promises, millions of them, woven together into incomes and prices and the life you live. And the day too many people want their money back at once is simply the day too many promises come due together, which is just the bottom of a cycle you can now recognize on your way down. You came in picturing a fixed pile of cash. You are leaving able to read the single machine that moves your entire financial life. So before the next time the headlines panic, do one thing. Look up where we are in the credit cycle right now, cheap and borrowing, or tight and fearful, and watch how much sharper the news suddenly reads.